The manhwa starts with guests arriving at a wedding reception. As the guests are walking inside, they notice the couple and believe that the couple are a perfect match. We also learn that the girl getting married is named Nina Song, and the guy getting married is named Jason Jiang. The guests further believe that the couple are so good together and that it's a shame that the groom is a vegetable. Suddenly, Jason starts to fall from his wheelchair. Nina notices this and quickly catches him from falling. However, she accidentally steps on Jason's foot with her heels in the process. As Nina is grabbing onto Jason, she realizes her mistake. Jason also starts to get angry. He further believes that Nina did it on purpose. Nina then states to Jason that he must be patient to do great things. Nina's little sister also approaches Nina and tells her that she should be careful. We further learn that Nina's younger sister is named Yvonne Song. Yvonne then mentions to her sister that since she has finally gotten married, she mustn't lose her husband. She also throws a little bit of her wine on Nina's dress. After that, Yvonne states to her sister that she was careless. Upon noticing the wine stain on her dress, Nina grabs the wine glass from her sister's hand. As Nina splashes the rest of the wine on Yvonne, she tells her that she was careless too. This action angers Yvonne. We then transition to the next scene where we see Nina in the powder room. Once she takes off her gloves, she sits down and starts thinking about the scar on her hand that always reminds her of all her past hatred and painful memories. We further see a flashback where we see that when the sisters were little, Yvonne threw a pan at Nina and shouted out that she's the only heiress of the Song family. She added that their dad has abandoned her. As Nina was crying, she mentioned to Yvonne that she's lying. We then learn that Nina's mother has passed away. However, her father is still alive. But her father doesn't love Nina the same way that he loves Yvonne. Because of this, the director of an orphanage took care of Nina when she was young. Once Nina was an adult, her father forcefully had his servants bring her to him. Upon meeting her father face to face, her father said, "I've got a good match for you. Although Jason Jiang is a vegetable, you know nothing. He's way out of your league. Just be thankful for how the Jiang family doesn't mind it. The Jiang family has a monopoly in Lingcheng, so when you get married, my company will be better off. And wouldn't you be better off too?" Upon hearing this statement, Nina asked her father about why doesn't he marry off Yvonne. She also questioned him that since there's much to be gained in this, does it make any difference if it's me or her? These questions angered Nina's father. He also raised his hand to slap Nina and asked her back about how can she match up with Yvonne. However, Nina caught her father's hand to stop him from slapping her. Her father then mentioned to Nina that he heard that the director of the orphanage is treating her well. This statement angered Nina, and she questioned her father about what is he trying to do to the director. Nina's father ignored her question and instead started to walk away from her. As he walked away from her, he mentioned to his servants to guard the house so that Nina can calm down. Once her father left, Nina stated to herself that she's finally leaving the house as planned and that it's exhausting to act. We are then back in the present, and Jason asks Nina what is she daydreaming about. This question startles Nina. She also turns around and questions Jason about when did he come in. Jason states to her that he came in while she was having massive mood swings. Nina then asks Jason what's wrong and if he's done being a vegetable now that there's no one here. Upon hearing this question, Jason tells Nina that he might kill her just to shut her up and to be careful. Nina tries to mention something regarding her saving him. However, Jason interrupts her and questions her about how shameless is she. He adds that he was the one who saved her. We then see a flashback where we see how Nina first encountered Jason. One of Jason's maids pushed him down a ramp. Nina was passing by when she suddenly noticed Jason going down a ramp in his wheelchair. She then quickly grabbed onto Jason's wheelchair to stop it. As Nina was holding onto the wheelchair, Jason put his feet down to slow down the wheelchair. This caused Nina to lose balance and trip. She also landed into Jason's arms, which made her blush. We are then back in the present, and Nina states to Jason that she just tried to be nice. She adds that besides, she can play along with his act. Jason confirms with Nina if that is true. He adds that this will depend on how well she acts then. We then switch to the next scene where we see that Nina and Jason are back at inside the banquet hall. Jason's uncle then tells Nina that since Jason has gotten such a good wife, he can now rest assured as his uncle. Nina reassures Jason's uncle not to worry since she'll be Jason's hands and feet from now on, and she'll take care of him in every way possible. Meanwhile, Yvonne mentions to her sister that this is ridiculous for a substitute to treat what she refused as a treasure. She adds that she supposes she'll be dead in a few days too. Upon hearing this statement, Nina reassures Yvonne that rest assured, she's capable, so taking care of a vegetable is no big deal. Jason also gets out of his wheelchair and states to everyone that their banquet will end here and that they may leave now. This action shocks the guests since they notice that Jason can stand. They also ask Jason about if he's a vegetable. Jason tells everyone that thanks to the happy occasion, he can now talk and stand up. As Jason's uncle starts to tremble, he mentions to everyone that this is great and that they should have another drink to celebrate. He also realizes that it turns out that he was the clown. We then move to the next scene where we see Nina helping Jason to his bed. Once they are at his bed, she plops him down. Nina also grabs a glass of wine and starts to cool herself down. Suddenly, Nina notices something wrong with her wine. She then pours all of it on the side table to examine it. Upon pouring it on the side table, she realizes that it was poisoned. All of a sudden, Nina notices someone outside her window. Once the stranger notices Nina, he throws something at her. However, Nina dodges it right in time. The stranger tries to throw something at Nina again, but Nina ends up dodging it again. Nina then looks down to see what the stranger threw at her and realizes that they are needles. She also starts to wonder about who is trying to kill her. Nina then realizes that these hidden weapons don't seem to be attacking Jason. Nina also gets into bed and starts thinking about how it seems like the Jiang family is also a restless one. As Nina snuggles into bed, she further tells herself that she's afraid that the deaths of Jason's previous 3 brides might suggest something else. Nina also decides that she must investigate it. Suddenly, Jason wakes up and states to Nina to drop the act. All of a sudden, 3 of Jason's employees walk into the room and call out to Jason. This causes the couple to spring out of bed. Jason then tells his employees to deal with it cleanly. The employees agree with Jason and start picking out the needles in the room. Meanwhile, Jason starts to cough. As he's coughing, he asks Nina if she's afraid. Nina questions him back about what should she be afraid of. She also starts to wonder about if Jason knows that she is a substitute. Jason then mentions to Nina that she's smart, but he dislikes the smart ones. He also commands his employees to take Nina out. As Nina is being dragged out of the room, Nina asks Jason about if they can make a deal. Jason questions Nina back about what is she trying to pull. Nina replies, "We both know each other's secrets, but if I die, you'll get another wife from Jiangji. I can work with you, and I won't interfere in your business. This way, it can save you a lot of trouble." Upon hearing this response, Jason states to Nina that he thinks it's easier to do it alone. Nina tells Jason that he can avoid a lot of trouble with someone's help, and she'll show him her worth. As Jason is blushing, he tells Nina that he hopes she meant what she said. Nina reassures Jason that of course she does. Jason then mentions to Nina that she's rather clever. He also wishes her a happy wedding. After that, Jason leaves the room and slams it shut. Once Jason is gone, Nina starts to wonder about if there's any evidence of them killing the previous brides here. Suddenly, 2 fighters climb into the room from the window with short swords. They also try to stab Nina with the short sword. However, Nina dodges the attack. After dodging the attack, she kicks one of them in the stomach, which causes the fighter to spit out some blood. Nina then takes this opportunity to escape from the room. Once she's outside the room, Nina turns to her right and notices Jason just sitting there. Upon noticing him, this angers Nina. She then rushes over to Jason and tells him that she's so scared. Jason tries to say something, but is unable to since he can't stop coughing. Nina then turns around and notices that Jason's employees have caught the fighters that tried to kill her. One of Jason's butlers named Joe also notices Jason coughing and gives him a glass of water. As Jason is drinking the water, Nina starts to wonder about if Jason coughed himself up. Jason then states to the fighters that they are the weakest group of fighters that he has ever seen. The fighters tell Jason that he's not a vegetable and that he can still move. They also question him about if he set them up. Jason responds, "Do you think you're worthy of me doing that? You're nothing but that man's lackeys. Uncle Joe, get rid of them. Jason then asks Nina if she is freaked out. Nina states to Jason that she isn't. Upon hearing this statement, Jason tells Nina that considering that she saw this scene today, he should have disposed of her too. He also questions her about what does she say if he sends her on his way himself. Nina disagrees with Jason and mentions to him that she can do a lot of things as well as caring for people. She adds that she can cover for him and do well in and out of the house. This statement makes Jason smile. Suddenly, Jason starts to cough again. Meanwhile, as Nina is staring at Jason, she starts to wonder about if Jason really wants to send her on her way when he's in such a bad shape. Jason then grabs Nina and asks her if he disgusts her. Nina tells him that he doesn't. She also shoves him away and requests him to let go of her. This request makes Jason flinch, as he wasn't expecting that. Nina then grabs onto Jason and questions him about where will she sleep today. This reaction catches Jason off guard. Jason also replies, "Nina, I think you need to be aware of your position. Didn't you say you know tons? Well, let's start with warming the bed." This response angers and annoys Nina. We then transition to the next scene where we see that Jason is naked. This catches Nina off guard, and she asks Jason what is he doing. Jason questions Nina back about if she's shy. Nina responds, "I've only heard that Mr. Jiang is a vegetable and a jinx to his wife, but today, I've seen instead that you're also a rascal." Nina also grabs her pajamas from the closet and leaves the room to change inside the washroom. Once Nina is inside the washroom, she tries to lock the door but realizes that the washroom door doesn't lock. After a while, Nina takes a quick shower and changes into her pajamas. She also leaves the washroom and nervously heads into the room, where she notices that Jason is on his phone. Upon noticing this, Nina becomes speechless. She then sits down on the bed. Meanwhile, Jason stops using his phone. All of a sudden, Jason embraces Nina from behind. This action catches Nina off guard. She also pushes Jason away from her. However, as she pushes Jason away, she notices that something is wrong with him and asks him what's the matter. She also questions him about if he's acting sick again. Jason doesn't respond to her questions as he's in too much pain. Nina becomes worried upon noticing this and asks Jason if he's okay. All of a sudden, Jason grabs onto Nina's hand. This action worries Nina, and she also fails to withdraw her hand. She further decides that she needs to call out for someone quickly. As she turns around to attempt to call someone, she knocks over the lamp on the side table. This causes the lamp to drop on the ground, which makes a loud noise. However, no one hears the noise since the room is soundproof. As Jason continues to hold on to Nina's hand, he then states to Nina to not go. Nina then hugs Jason and reassures him not to be afraid since she's here. She also asks him if he would let go of her first, since he is the most obedient one. Jason agrees and releases Nina's hand. After that, Jason lays down and Nina tucks him into bed. She also leaves the room. As she's leaving the room, Jason's uncle states to Nina that he'll get the doctor right away. Nina then grabs a wet towel and heads back into the room. Once she's inside the room, she starts to touch and admire Jason. Suddenly, Jason grabs Nina's hand. Another lady also enters the room and shouts at Nina to not touch Jason. Jason's uncle then enters the room and requests Nina to cooperate. He also introduces the lady as the doctor's apprentice, who is named Sharon. Upon hearing this request, Nina mentions to them that it's not that she refuses to let go, but Jason's the one grabbing her. She also requests Sharon to let her know if she needs any cooperation and to be quick. All of a sudden, Jason wakes up and states to Sharon and his uncle to get out. Upon hearing this statement, Jason's uncle tells Jason that Dr. Carl is out of the country, so he won't be here in time. Jason questions his uncle about if he can't hear what he's saying. This question makes Jason's uncle request Sharon to come with him so that they can leave the room. Meanwhile, as Jason is coughing, he mentions to Nina to stay. As Sharon is leaving, she turns around and notices Jason telling Nina to help him up. Once Sharon and Jason's uncle leave the room, Nina helps Jason up. Suddenly, Jason coughs out some blood. He also faints and leans on Nina. Upon noticing this, Nina calls someone on her phone and mentions to them to come over to Jason's villa with a medical kit. Meanwhile, we see Sharon and Jason's uncle outside the room. Sharon then states to Jason's uncle that it's dangerous to leave Jason like that. Although her master isn't here, she can still relieve it with needle suppression, and it can last until he gets here. But Jason had rather keep a useless woman. Upon hearing this statement, Jason's uncle requests her to calm down. He adds that Jason does know his own body well, so she doesn't have to worry about it. Nina then comes outside of the room and tells Jason's uncle that someone with the surname of Yin will be here later. She adds to bring him in straight away. Upon hearing this statement, Sharon questions Nina about what does she mean. She also asks her why does she want to bring a stranger here since Jason is in a coma now. Nina replies, "Sharon, I think you're too hostile. I suggest you practice mindfulness, or it'll be hard to improve your medical skills." This response angers Sharon, and she questions Nina about if she is as good as her. She also asks Nina if she needs her to tell her what to do. She adds that no one can cure Jason's disease except her master. Suddenly, we are introduced to a new gentleman named Sieg Yun. Sieg also mentions to Sharon that she sounds boastful. Upon noticing Sieg, Sharon quickly bows to him. We further learn that Sieg Yun is the top figure in Chinese and Western medicine, who can be regarded as a Chinese physician who lived during the late Eastern Han Dynasty. Sieg had repeatedly saved lives, but people gradually came to him with impure intentions. He had trained a group of apprentices, but stopped seeing patients himself. Sharon then starts to wonder how Nina brought over Sieg, as she's aware that her master was Sieg's apprentice. Sieg then states to Nina that he's got the stuff and that he can examine Jason now. Nina agrees and tells Sieg to follow her. Meanwhile, Sharon couldn't believe that the two of them are so close. Once Sieg is inside the room and starts to examine Jason, he says, "This disease of his can't be cured overnight. It's a little serious. I'll prescribe him something that will relieve it. That scar on your arm, I can take care of it." Upon hearing this statement, Nina reassures Sieg that there's no need. Sieg understands and mentions to Nina that he's going to head back. He adds that she can call him if she needs anything. We then see the next scene, where we see that the sun is rising. Jason also wakes up and asks his uncle about where Nina is. Jason's uncle states to him that Nina has been busy and has just gone to the guest room to sleep. Upon hearing this statement, Jason gets out of bed and goes inside the guest room. Once he notices Nina in bed, he calls out to her. Nina wakes up upon hearing her name and wonders what's wrong. Jason sits down on the bed and confirms with Nina about if she has had the chance to get to know Sieg since she was a kid. Nina responds, "Jason, I suppose you've looked into me. I grew up in the countryside before I was sent to an orphanage. It just so happened that Sieg had been to that rural area, so it was no surprise that we knew each other at first sight." Upon hearing this response, Jason asks Nina why did she ask him to save her. Nina responds, "Jason, you sure have a lot of questions. Do you even need to ask? Since you don't allow anyone else to see you, and I didn't want to be widowed, I had to seek external help. But what surprised me was that you weren't resistant to Sieg when you were adamantly opposed to Sharon performing acupuncture for you. It's my turn to ask now. Did you cause the deaths of all your previous brides?" Jason confirms with Nina that he was the cause since they were spies sent by Jason Jiang, so it was perfect to get them killed. Jason also gets into bed with Nina and tells her that you must give something to get something. He adds that being in the position of him isn't that easy, so she'd better please him. Upon hearing this statement, Nina starts to realize that it seems that the death of the previous brides had something to do with Jason, even if he didn't kill them. She also believes that as for Jason, neither he's as innocent as she thought he'd be. After a while, the sun shines through the curtains. This causes Nina to wake up as the sun rays touch her face. Suddenly, Nina realizes that her hand is on Jason, which causes her to flinch. She then quickly gets up and takes a breath of fresh relief as she's blushing since she notices that Jason is not awake yet. All of a sudden, someone starts to knock on the door. Nina opens the door and notices that it's Jason's uncle. She then questions Jason's uncle about what's the matter. Jason's uncle mentions to Nina that her family is here. He also asks her if she would like to meet them. Nina agrees with Jason's uncle to meet her family. We then transition to the next scene where we see Nina walking down the stairs. Once her family notices her, her father starts to yell at Nina and states to her that she's now fully fledged. He also questions her about how dare she make them wait so long. Upon hearing this question, Nina starts to wonder if this is a place where her father can just throw a fit. She also calls him dumb in her head. Yvonne then tells Nina that she can't do this to their father now that she's married and climbed the ladder. She also attempts to say something regarding another man that was with Nina, but then stops herself when she notices Jason's uncle behind her. Yvonne further requests Jason's uncle not to listen to her nonsense. She adds that Nina didn't go out with another man in the middle of the night and that she made that up. Jason's uncle mentions to Yvonne that naturally he trusts Nina. Jason's uncle then walks away. Once he's gone, Nina's father says, "Nina, did anyone ask you to sign any contracts after you got married? Hand over the contract." Upon hearing this statement, Nina starts to wonder about if her family has another deal with Jason's family. Nina's father then shouts at Nina to not play dumb. He adds that Jason's family is a family of words, and that he said that he'll give 3% of their shares to Yvonne when she gets married. Nina states to her father that she didn't sign any contract. She adds that she doesn't know about the shares that he's talking about either. Yvonne tells Nina that if she wants money, she'll share it with her, but this money is meant for her by Jason's family. She adds that if she's kept it secretly, then she'll be arrested for breaking the law. As Nina turns around, she says, "I didn't sign anything, so I've got no idea what you're talking about. I won't see you off since I'm tired and I need to visit Jason." Upon hearing this statement, Nina's father states to Nina that she's an unfilial daughter. He also asks her what kind of attitude is that and if she's trying to chase them away. Nina's father adds that he can see that her mom didn't raise her right. This statement causes Nina to pause. She also grabs a glass from the table. She further throws the glass right in front of her father's feet and shouts out that he's right. She adds that her mother gave birth to her without raising her. She also confirms with her father about if he knows that best. Nina then tells her father that she hopes he will be kind enough to leave her alone. Nina's father shouts at her that he'll see how long she can remain arrogant without her own family. Nina reassures her father that he doesn't need to worry about it. She also states to Jason's uncle to see the guests off. Jason's uncle agrees and sees Nina's family off. Once they are gone, Jason walks down the stairs and notices Nina. After that, he mentions to Jason's uncle that he's starving and commands him to serve the meal. Jason's uncle agrees and serves the meal to Jason and Nina. Jason then states to Nina to dig in and that she's going back with him to his family's mansion today. We then switch to the next scene where we see that Jason's uncle is showing Nina a dress and telling her that Jason has prepared this especially for her. Upon hearing this, Nina becomes surprised and mentions to Jason's uncle that this is so kind of him. She adds that he's probably afraid of her embarrassing him. Nina then wears the dress that Jason picked out for her. She also starts thinking about who would have thought that there'd be a dark past behind all her present glory. We further learn that Nina's mom, which is her father's ex-wife, passed away when Nina was 4. Nina's father had long been cheating on Nina's mother with her bestie, Yvette Zhao. After Nina's mother's death, Nina's father immediately married Yvette, and defaulted to Yvette's act of sending Nina away after she got pregnant. Nina's life in the countryside was rough, with her foster parents hitting and scolding her. Later, both her foster parents died in a car accident, and she was sent to an orphanage. Luckily, the director of the orphanage was a good man and raised Nina. Jason's uncle then questions Nina about if she's done packing as it's time to go. Upon hearing this question, Nina states to Jason's uncle that she's coming. We also see a flashback where Jason told Nina to remember that she's representing him at the banquet. He added not to disgrace herself or get bullied and to not embarrass him. Nina mentioned to Jason that she'd be happier if he'd just say that he's worried about her. Upon hearing this statement, Jason spit out the water he drank with his medicine. He then cleared his throat and asked Nina why would he worry about her. He added that he was afraid she'd embarrass him. Meanwhile, Nina just chuckled at Jason. We are then back in the present, and we see the couple entering Jason's family mansion. As they are entering, Nina starts thinking about how no one will notice her if she keeps a low profile. Suddenly, Jason's other uncle notices the couple. He says, "Come on, let me introduce you. This is Jason's wife, Nina Song. Nina is such a good child, sensible and knowledgeable. Please take good care of her. Nina, feel free to visit me if you need anything." Upon hearing this statement, Nina starts to wonder how he's sensible and if he's sure that he's not being ironic. The guests then approach Nina and are amazed to see Nina's dress as they're aware that her dress is in the new season's collection. They also think that it's so pretty. The guests further tell Nina that it's a pity that Jason is bedridden and can't even go shopping with her. Upon hearing this statement, Nina mentions to them that this is why she's representing him here. She adds that she can't afford to dress too shabbily. One of the other guests then asks about if Jason is able to stand now. He adds that maybe he'll be all right in 3 or 5 years. Another guest agrees with the guests and states that he didn't think that the wedding actually brought luck and that it's amazing. Meanwhile, Nina tries to feed Jason and tells him to open his mouth. Jason listens to Nina and opens up his mouth. As he's eating, one of the ladies mentions that they're a lovely couple. After the couple are done eating, Nina says, "Oops, Jason seems to want to go to the restroom. I'll push him there. Excuse me."
Please make sure to subscribe. Special thanks to all of my Patreon members. Why not watch another manhwa recap on my channel by clicking on this video right here